On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder will tip off their season with Media Day, and we're going to answer your mailbag questions.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for InsideTheThunder.com, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. That's RYLAN_STILAS. And on today's show, we're getting you set for Thunder Media Day. We're going to preview Media Day a bit. We did that as well on Friday with Derek Parker. And we're answering your Reddit questions and reacting to your hot takes that you sprinkled in on Reddit as well. This is our first Reddit mailbag in quite some time. And I've got to say, Twitter, YouTube, you guys got to step up a little bit. The Reddit mailbag is going to be really fun. But today really signifies the start of the NBA season. There's been some teams who have already held Media Day, but this is whenever the entire league gets it done on Media Day. On the 30th. And it's just the official tip-off to the season. Training camp will start on Tuesday, and then it's off and running. Next week, the Thunder will play 3 preseason games, and it's just full go from here, leading up to, of course, the regular season tip-off at the end of October. So I just think that Media Day is a very special day. Everybody's excited. Everybody wants to be there, and it's a really long day. It's a long day for the players, a long day for the media, a long day for you guys at home, keeping up with all of it. The Thunder will live stream it on their app and on thunder.com, so you can watch the live stream starting at 11. We'll also have the content for you here on Locked On Thunder, on SI Thunder, on the OKC Dream Team. So we've got you covered with what's going to go on at Media Day. I think that for the Thunder, Media Day holds a bit more significance than it does for other teams. Because by and large, Media Day is, you hope it is a big nothing burger, right? You hope that there's no bad news to announce. You hope that everybody is coming in feeling that the best that they felt in forever. You feel as though everyone is excited and ready to embrace their role. Like, you really hope that you're not the center of attention on Media Day most of the time. Because while no attention is bad attention, on Media Day, typically the moments that you remember are bad news or just funny blips that end up not mattering in the long haul, like Kawhi's laugh. For the Thunder, though, Media Day is going to be more important than just another ho-hum day. It's the first opportunity that this roster will have from top to bottom to discuss expectations. And this is something that nobody on this roster in Oklahoma City has had to deal with. You look at SGA, who made the playoffs in the bubble, made the play-in a couple years ago, made the playoffs last year. In each of those seasons, they were not expected to do anything. The largest expectations that were put on this team was a year ago, and those expectations were, could they possibly get into the top 6? And a year ago today, there were still people who had reservations of them repeating their success to get to the play-in tournament. So this is the first year where not only are you expected to make the playoffs, not only is this no longer sort of a house money year, if you will, but the expectations are so great that anything short of the Western Conference Finals, right or wrong, will be viewed as a disappointment. And that's a whole new ballgame than the 0.2% chance you had with Chris Paul, than being projected to win 24 games, and then people questioning you if you're even going to make the play-in. With that becomes more intensity, higher pressure for each game, a larger microscope that you're under with each move, retweet, and post, with each game, miss shot, and make. Everything will be cross-examined this season. I think that the Thunder are ready for that. I think that their first chance to talk about this, of course, was Wednesday with Sam Presti. I think that Sam Presti knocked it out of the park with accepting, hey, rightfully so, are the Thunder projected to win the West. On paper, that is absolutely a possibility, one that they hope to get to. But we can't sweep under the rug that for 3 years, not only were expectations wrong, they were gravely wrong, and then just assume it's a walk in the park this year, that the expectations will for sure be right. Now, I think that they will be. I've already spoiled that I believe that the Thunder will play in the Western Conference Finals. You'll have to stay tuned to the end of this month to figure out if they're going to go past that, but I think that they will be at least in the West Finals. But how do the players handle it? I think you can kind of look up and down this roster and figure out who's going to sidestep it, who's going to embrace it, and who's going to give you the potential soundbite that people run with. But this is a big day. It's a different day. It's a day of smiles and photos. It's also a day of storylines. And there's some big ones out there. And there's going to be a lot of overanalyzation of these answers. I'll tell you right now, there's going to be more national people in that room than ever before of this current era. Of course, with Russell and KD, you can go back that far. But of this era, more national people than ever before. And how Hartenstein answers and Chet answers the questions and Mark answers the questions about the starting lineup, how everyone answers the questions about expectations, all of that stuff will be put in the hopper and talked about all week. All week. And should it matter? No, but it's going to. And this is the first time, really, that these things are going to matter. That you're going to have massive, massive takes about media day. And it's just a different environment to put these guys into. I think that they're going to take cues from Sam Presti. I would imagine it's going to sound a lot like Sam Presti. I would imagine that from top to bottom on this roster, especially Shai, Mark, Chet, J-Dub, it's going to sound just like Sam, where they say that it's possible, they want to do those things, they want to reach those goals, but they've got to take it one day at a time. 0-0 mentality, things of that nature. But if anybody zags from that messaging, if anybody is willing to give something more, then all of a sudden you've got a massive, massive firestorm in the media, on social media, everywhere. And not every team can say that about their media day. There's not really much that could come out of Nets media day. I would be shocked if at 4 o'clock today, the story on NBA Today, and the story on Locked On NBA, and the story on the Hoop Collective, the story on every other place is about the Nets. The leaders in the clubhouse for it to be about is, of course, New York, Oklahoma City, Boston, but they've already done their media day. Minnesota after that big trade. This is one of the rare teams that's going to be under the microscope from the word go, from media day till the end of their season. And it's not like they've been in this position before. For example, Denver, for example, Boston, two teams who have already successfully completed their media day. Like, they've been in title contention before. They've been in a season in which they have massive expectations before. They know how to handle that. I think this team will also know how to handle it, but you got to see them do it. You've got to see them handle that situation. And then you get to the lineup questions, and then you get to the questions about how these guys have looked because they've been together practicing before training camp, as every team does. And then whatever comes of that, whoever is standing out the most, and the basic normal media day questions that happen in every market. But answering that question will be huge for Oklahoma City of how they're going to handle the expectations and what their own expectations are. What has changed for them? We talk about everything that's changed externally. What's changed internally? Has the messaging at all changed from the Thunder? We'll talk about that and recap Media Day on Tuesday's show. Today, let's get to your mailbag questions. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel right now because FanDuel is fantastic. I love FanDuel. I think that right now you can win big at FanDuel because it's America's #1 sports book. And go there right now because you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Your first $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed at FanDuel.com. Start the season big at FanDuel. Of course, football is in full swing. OU is on a bye week this week, but maybe your favorite NFL team's in action. You can also bet on the NBA already. If you're only into hoops, well, guess what? You can bet on who's going to win the West, who's going to win the NBA Finals, who's going to win the first opening game for the Thunder, where they're 2.5-point underdogs in Denver. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Let's talk about your mailbag questions from Reddit. The first one from Donut Sack. How do you feel about the draft class compared to 2021? Am I crazy to think that AJ Mitchell will be the last guy standing on this roster, similar to Aaron Wiggins? It's not crazy because I think that you can break it down in a way where you look at Nikola Topic, who's out for the entire season with an ACL injury, and he was a guy that before this injury was viewed as a top 5 prospect in this draft class. You got him at pick 12. If you're looking to bolster your roster at the end of the year, right, no matter how the season ends, if you say, well, we could have used blank. We could have used another table setter, could have used another whatever, another power forward is another popular answer. Topic and picks is really the package that you feel comfortable parting with that still gives you enough of a sweetener to make a deal. So Topic is interesting. I think that the plan right now would be for him to rehab and redshirt and look good next year like Chet did. But again, you can't rule out the possibility that he is going to be someone who is one of your best trade chips. Dylan Jones, I have a strange confidence in Dylan Jones because if we're going to sit here and opine about how Sam Presti is one of the best GMs in the sport and one of the best drafters in the sport, Dylan Jones is a guy who the Thunder coveted 2 drafts in a row, who the Thunder parted with 5 second-round picks for, who the Thunder took in the first round whenever no one really had him projected there. Now there's been reports that Boston would have swooped him up, and that's why the Thunder had to go up and get him. But still, took him at a pretty lofty pick, so to say. So they clearly see something with Dylan Jones. I see his potential. I see his upside in summer league, and I just wonder what he looks like on the NBA floor, what position he even plays. He's so unorthodox, but the Thunder like unorthodox. But this is a very tough rotation to crack. So there's just a billion questions about Dylan Jones that I can't really say one way or the other that I feel confident or not confident that he'll be on this roster in 4 years' time as we're looking back at the 2021 NBA draft. And with AJ Mitchell, this guy has everything you want. I mean, he checks every box of what the Thunder look for. A drive and kick guy who, I still have reservations about the Thunder's ability to set the table for J-Dub and for Chet and that secondary unit, staggering those 2 guys with the bench. AJ Mitchell's a guy who can really help in that area, especially if he hits the ground running in the NBA. So he could be another guy that you find in this gold mine of two-way, this lineage of two-way guys who've really contributed to Oklahoma City. So I think that he's an interesting target as well to be kind of that Wiggins-esque player. You're on track there. It's just a matter of, will the other 2 guys not be in Oklahoma City for long? I could see it with Topic because of the trade aspect. I just have a feeling that Dylan Jones is going to be a guy. I think he really does have the juice. We'll move on to a hot take here from Selder. Hot take, iHeart will take 2 to 3 3-pointers per game and hit them at a clip of 36% or higher. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being just outrageous and 1 being a normal take, I would put this at a 3.9. I mean, I know that it's very exciting to dream about Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'll give you a huge spoiler. Every single person at Thunder Ion on Tuesday will be recording a video of Isaiah Hartenstein shooting threes, and it will be plastering your Twitter timeline. And that's going to get people even more excited. I would imagine we'll talk about shooting threes again Monday. It's going to be 3-point week for iHeart this week. But at the end of the day, these off-season workout videos sometimes don't never translate. I mean, Sam Presti himself mentioned that he doesn't put a lot of stock into them. And there's just so much value in Hartenstein not being at the 3-point line that I think the truth's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think that there's a side of people who don't think he's going to shoot at all at any capacity at all. There's a side of the point that thinks that he's going to just start launching threes. I don't think either one of those things are true. I think that it'll be somewhere like this. 2 3-pointers a game isn't crazy. 3, maybe you start to push it at 3 or more, and somewhere around 36%. I think that there's an element of the Thunder's just natural 5-out style creates opportunities within the flow of an offense to get your big man a shot. Hartenstein's not afraid to shoot the basketball by any means, so he'll naturally fall into a couple more threes than he, of course, did in New York, where he was not allowed to shoot any. But I would say that it levels off at 2 to 3, probably. It's nothing crazy. It's also not like a for sure thing. It's just kind of, okay. I can see that happening for your hot take. Chris Ryan, I appreciate your question. A Kubrick film. I have no idea who that is. The Shining, and there's a lot of different Full Metal Jacket. There's a lot of different recommendations. I don't know any movies of his, but I'm sure that they're all great. Perhaps I'll have to check some out before the season begins. But we'll move on. I do appreciate your question. Let's see. Safety Committee says that the hot take is before December 1st, the Thunder will start hearing, I predicted this team to be good, but I think that they're even better, from everybody on TV with an NBA opinion. Wow. I think that hot take grades out at a 4.5, because by December 1st, for you to think, whenever the consensus is they're the best team in the West and they're going to go win a title, win a West title and go compete with Boston for the NBA title. Like, whenever that's the consensus, for you to say they're even better than that would mean that by December 1st, they've lost 3 games, 4 games. Like, they would be unreal to December 1st. So I'd say that's a 4.5 or 4.8, which is not to say that they won't be good on December 1st. They're going to be great on December 1st. That's what's been expected. Like, that's the difference in last year to this year. You're not going to get these pats on the back anymore. You're not going to get these like overwhelming, like, oh my goodness, they've done it again. Like, now this is what you expect. So even if they're first in the West, unless that they only have like 3 losses at the time, nobody's going to say that they're better than expected, because they're expected to be top of the West. So I just don't think that people will have that opinion anymore, because people have caught up to how good the Thunder are. Now, Fish says the Thunder will win 70 games this season. Whew. Okay, if they win 70 games, then Safety Committee's hot take is back on the table. Back on the table if they win 70 games. But that's one of the only ways you get the they're better than I thought for this season. Ember06 says, what do you think our front court rotation looks like for this upcoming season? Specifically the 4 and 5 spots. What combos do you expect to put out there? Could you see more time for J-Will or Dieng? I think that J-Will will play more in the end. What I think will happen is that Dieng plays more immediately. Like, he'll play more in October and November. They'll play him a lot, and J-Will will rack up a few more DNPs than expected. People will start to read into that. And then by the time that the dust settles on the season, J-Will will be someone who takes a step up there. I would imagine that you're going to see lineups where Chet's the center and the only big on the floor. You're going to see lineups where iHeart is the center and the only big on the floor. You're going to see lineups where J-Will and iHeart are together. You're going to see lineups where Chet and iHeart are together. You're going to see everything. Like if there's one thing about Mark, is that he's going to explore every lineup. So Steven says, what do you think the Thunder's biggest challenge is this season? It's a good question. It's difficult because we first acknowledge no team in the NBA ever has been perfect. Now, there's been close. The Bulls, the Warriors, like, there's been close to perfect. No team's actually ended up perfect. No matter how dominating their victory was in the NBA Finals, or how many wins that they racked up, there were still some things that they wish they could have done better. This Thunder roster on September 29th, on September 30th, whenever you get this training camp roster in your hand, you look up and down and say, wow, there's no holes on this team, but there'll be things that pop up. The one thing that I think that as you celebrate the best offseason in the NBA, only rivaled by New York, and you can quibble with if the Knicks or Thunder had the best offseason, I don't really care. but one of the two best off seasons. The only thing that I leave saying I don't know that they've completely fixed the issue is their playmaking in the secondary unit and their table setting with that group. Now, they've given themselves a chance to fix the issue. In fact, they've given themselves enough shots at the dartboard where I think that's why it's no longer talked about, because you just imagine with so many bites at the apple to fix this issue, it's going to get fixed. From Caruso to a J-Dub leap as a playmaker to Kaysen tapping back into his point guard roots to AJ Mitchell striking gold. Like, they've given themselves so many chances that they can fix this internally. I think that's what's kind of getting written off as just already done. But you still have to go and prove your table setting ability and ability to run your offense within some sort of flow besides just, hey, J-Dub, go hit a really tough shot in the secondary unit. Chet also taking a step forward as an on-ball scorer helps that. So I think that they'll figure it out, but it right now is a challenge for the Thunder. And it's the only really one that stands out before this team is tipped off. Now, there's going to be more than that, obviously. But as of this moment, it's the only really one that jumps out at me. I think that people overreact to needing a 4. Look, I don't know what more you want them to do. J-Dub not only played the 4 admirably last year, he played it really well. And if they really have a matchup where they need someone bigger at the 4, you can always put Chet in the Jaren Jackson Jr. role and let him roam off of iHeart. And, there's no better 4 than that. So, they can get the 4 internally, easily, depending on matchup. And it's also discounted how good they were last year with just their normal lineup, except what doomed them was when Chet was off the floor. They played Dallas to 6 games with a 0-point differential and were doomed by the fact that they couldn't play Chet 48 minutes. So, it wasn't as though not having a 4 last year was some dramatic problem. Not having a backup 5, that was the issue. That was the biggest issue. So I just think that the 4 thing might be a little bit overinflated. We'll see. Maybe it's not. But for me, it's table setter number 1 still. Coming up, let's finish up this mailbag and get you ready for Media Day. But first, I want to say right now, better good friends over at Gametime. Check out the Gametime app today and make sure you go there and get started. It's great. Not only are they giving you the best prices, the lowest prices guaranteed at Gametime, they'll credit you 110% of the difference if you find a ticket cheaper, but you will not. It's the lowest prices guaranteed. But there's 2 things I love. Well, number 1, all-in pricing. I love the fact that what you see is what you pay. It's all up front for you right there. I also love view from your seat. Maybe you're coming into the Paycom Center for the first time. Maybe you're so excited about this team, you're heading to San Antonio October 7th. It's the first time in San Antonio. View from your seat so you know exactly the sight lines and what you're going to get at the arena. Go there right now to Gametime. Go download the Gametime app, create your account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Follow me on Twitter at Ryland_Styles. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Thunderpod. Also, check out Locked On NBA for the national perspective on basketball. What's the biggest storylines out of Media Day? They'll have you covered there for all 30 teams. A part T5482. What do you think the Thunder's best starting lineup looks like, or at least the one that will be used the most often? Before Media Day, before hearing these guys talk and hearing Mark's philosophy, I'd be shocked if Mark gives us anything, any sort of indication on the starting 5. But before hearing anything, my early lean is it's as simple as Shai, Caruso, Dort, Dub, Chet. That's your best lineup. That's your starting 5. And then you mix and match from there. From Melted Relic says, hot take, Josh Giddey will have more rebounds per game than iHeart next season. It's a good hot take. I'm going to give it a solid 3. I think that this is somewhat of a toss-up without knowing iHeart's role. I think if iHeart starts, it changes. If iHeart ends up playing close to 30 minutes, it changes. For Josh, I don't doubt that he'll be able to rack up rebounds and rack up counting stats. Like Josh Giddey is going to have a phenomenal counting stat season. I would go as far as to say Josh Giddey on the counting stats will blow the Thunder, swaps of like Caruso out of the water. They'll blow Isaiah Hartenstein out of the water in counting stats because he's going to be a starter and a high usage player who is really good and talented. Like it's just that simple. But I don't think that he was a good fit for the Thunder. I won't think that after his triple double average at the end of the year that people talk about. Like it just was not going to work in OKC. So I don't think that it really matters who has more rebounds per game, but it could happen. I would bet on the center just out of habit, but I mean Josh Giddey, of course, will rack up plenty of rebounds. TPF Recoil hot takes number 1. Shai could take major strides in many offensive categories such as playmaking, three-pointer, etc. His next big leap is actually on defense. He will not be the worst defender in the starting lineup. Shai ain't a bad defender, but the others are just really good. I mean, defense is going to be hard to quantify for many. I think that Shai was really good last year. I wouldn't even consider him the worst, defender, of course, in that starting 5 a year ago with Josh Giddey. You take Josh Giddey out, it gets tougher to split the hairs between him and J-Dub, because I think that if the starting 5 is Dort, Caruso, Chet, that's your top 3. Then you have Shai and J-Dub, who's 4, who's 5. Being a 5, 5 worst, the 5th worst defender, or best, I should say, in this lineup is not a bad thing. Like if you are the worst defender in that starting 5, your odds are you're a pretty good defender because all those other guys are great. So I could see it. I could see Shai taking yet another leap defensively, but I would have to imagine the leap, if he does take another leap, will come in playmaking like we saw in FIBA or with the three-point shot. Number 2, Cason Wallace has the highest potential of the bench rookies as of right now. Yeah, I think that Cason clearly has higher potential than the rookies. I think that it depends on your feeling of Topic. The injuries are scary, of course. We've seen Cason be effective and really good in the NBA, and he's just scratching the surface of what he can be. And then with Dillon Jones and AJ Mitchell, I like them. I like them as shots in the dark, whatever. But if I was going to bank on who has a better career, those 2 guys are Cason. I'm taking Cason 1,000 times over because he's already shown it. He's already proved it. And I still think that what he showed and proved is the bare minimum of what you're going to get from Cason Wallace. Like that's the floor. He's going to creep up and he's going to get better and he's going to, develop more. So I would agree that this is going to be something that happens. So I would give Shai, I'd give it a 4.1 because I really think that J-Dub is so good defensively and is underrated defensively. And I would give Cason a 1. Like I just believe that that's going to be the case between him and Jones and Mitchell. So I agree. Moving forward here, make cocktails, not war. Make cocktails, not war. I agree. Who is your least liked Western Conference team and why? It's a good question. I don't have a ton of hate in my heart for many of things. There are a few things, but not many. My least liked Western Conference team. I would have to say the Houston Rockets, but only because of like social media. Like I like the Rockets players. I love Jalen Green. I love Evan Thompson. Like I like the Rockets as like a basketball team. That's going to get clipped. But I don't like the Rockets social media. Like I don't like their fan base on Twitter. I don't like their like hive on Twitter that just attacks everything and thinks the Rockets are going to go 82-0. Like I think that they're the most annoying Twitter fan base. I'm sure that many people believe that the Thunder are very annoying, for rightfully so. There's a lot of annoying accounts, but I think pound for pound, the Rockets are the most annoying fan base on social media, which is what impacts me the most, like my job the most, of like being on social media so much and having to sift through it all. So for that reason, I'd say the Rockets, but it's nothing more than that. Like I do love the Rockets, like actual roster and actual players. It's just that their fan base is insufferable. Gideon says, let Blue Ballin' go, man. It's time. So Blue Ballin' is a parody song that me and Andrew selected on the OKC Dream Team, where I took Free Fallin' and made it Blue Ballin' to discuss the OKC Blue. That originated from a 2 a.m. voice memo to Andrew Schlecht from my iPhone to his iPhone. I sent it at 2 a.m. And yes, at 2 a.m. I was thinking of ways to create songs about the OKC Blue, which is just bad enough. I sent it to Andrew Schlecht and looked up and realized it was 2 a.m. And I immediately regretted it because Andrew, no offense to Andy Scoops, not a youngster. He's got youngsters of his own. He needs to get his beauty sleep. I mean, first of all, he's one of the best looking on the beat. Second of all, he's got kids to worry about. He's got like actual responsibilities. So I felt bad for like pinging him at 2 a.m. He replied at 2:01, just loving the song. We recorded it live on the next Dream Team podcast. And it's never going to go away, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe it will. We're already thinking of new parody songs. One is Here Comes Caruso to the song Here Comes the Rooster. I don't know. I know we're going to still talk about the Blue. I don't know that we're singing that song at all or play that song at all, but it was a fun time in Dream Team history for me. Lumpy Development Man. Same. Is the best 5-man lineup the too big lineup? Is it two elite perimeter defenders? Does it include Joe for 3-point shooting? Yeah, the best 5-man lineup by data, I think, will be different than by eye test. I think by data, the best 3-man offense, 3-man team will be Shai and Joe plus Caruso and J-Dub and Chet. I think that'll be however many times that lineup shares the floor together, that'll be the best statistical lineup. But eye test wise, I think that you will not have a clear cut best, which is the beauty of this team. You'll have the best per scenario. So you'll have the best group if you need to string together stops. You'll have the best group if you need to just blow a team out of the water offensively. You have the best group if you need size. The best group if you need small ball. Like you'll have so much in your Rolodex that I think that will be what we look at. But in terms of statistics of best 5-man lineup, I think it will be Joe included because him and Shai play so well together. And then you can round that out with either Dort or Caruso and then Dub and Chet and, kind of see how that goes from there. But that's where I'm at with this team. Thank you so much for all of your questions on the Reddit mailbag. We'll sprinkle some more in at the end of pods throughout the week to get them all answered. But again, on tomorrow's show, we're going to recap Media Day. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then on Tuesday is whenever we're going to recap Media Day. On Wednesday, we'll have the first day of training camp plus a special guest talking Thunder basketball, so you don't want to miss that. And we have fun pods for you Monday through Friday. Here we are. We're back. Subscribe to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcast from. Leave a like, leave a review, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, everywhere. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.